No. If you drink too much of it, there's plenty of people out there that will get creepy. But but that's not what we intended.
No. This is great.
It's a good beer. It holds up, and we love it.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, in a marketplace that is craft beer now, I think people play the profit game, and they have to, especially coming out of what we just came out of. I think it's smart, but there's still plenty of room to just brew the beers that you want to brew and that you like. It's not chasing trends or, you know what I mean? And I think San Diego has done a really damn good job of a bunch of breweries being trailblazers and
like
great.
honing in on the craft and like really trying to perfect it and really trying, like, I think we were I think we were talking with Nate or Clayton at Epic, and they were saying, like, Nate will just brew the same beer, but always do small tweaks.
Yeah.
Always do small things and like to beers that have won medals, and you're like, well, why are you tweaking the recipe?
Yeah, like
because there's always an opportunity. There's always something that can change a little bit or try something new to make it a little bit better. Like, it's kind of that thing, like, there isn't that perfect recipe. Like, because there's always an opportunity to try something and be creative and enhance on something that is good and try to always make it better.
Yeah. Right, 100%.
Which is, I think, why San Diego beer continues to enhance and grow in the way that it has, is because people aren't just going to settle for a style or a recipe. Once it wins a medal or something, they're going to continue to try to tweak it to continue to keep it at the best and make it better than it was when it won a medal.
Right.
There's definitely, that's 100% correct. And I think in a weird way, it's a good thing, but we might have shot ourselves in the foot because now our fan base expects it. They expect innovation. They expect new. They expect improved. And so that puts the onus on us to deliver that. But it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a beer that's going to stand apart from, in this town at least, especially in this country now. And then on top of that, like, once you strike oil, like, continue to do that time and time again, it's daunting.
I think that's any business. Any business that has been considered the top, they have to come out with something that tops it each and every time. Take Tesla and Apple, for example.
Yeah.
Each year they coming out with something else that has, with their brand that's going to come out to be more innovative than the last time, because they have to keep topping it, because now as the consumer, we're expecting that.
Yeah. And that,
I think that goes the same thing.
Right? Yeah.
I think that goes the same thing with beer. Like, if I'm looking at your can and I see this great artwork, right? So when you say you're coming out with something new, I'm going to first go for the artwork. I'm going to be like, okay, they nailed it with the fucking skeletons and the speedboat. Now what they're going to do? What are they going to surprise me with?
Yeah.
So that same thing.
You're raising your own bar and expectations.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means for the community. Like, you brought Apple and Tesla, and like, there's been plenty of releases that, the consumer has gone, is this all that? This is the same thing that you gave us last time, and just a different little thing that's not probably worth it.
New packaging.
Yeah. And so at some point, when do you reach terminal velocity? I don't know. But at least in this space, kind of like in the culinary space or any artistic endeavor, there's always room for improvement, right?
Yeah. I do believe so. I mean, craft beer wouldn't be here if it wasn't like that, because we were still doing Bud Light and Miller. You know what I mean? We'll still be doing that.
Yeah, I like myself, of course, banquet once in a while.
But thinking about, like,
there's a time and place.
Right, that they thought that this beer can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
That it doesn't have to stay in this particular space, in this wheat space. It could actually go and taste, a lot different and go a lot of different places. So I think that part too is what people are looking at. They're like, how is beer gonna, jump off this next time?
That's such a weird and interesting point. I was, Brandon from Black Beer Travelers. So we were doing this event, and he invited me to give like a little talk at this event downtown. And at the end of it, I asked, like, hey, does anybody have questions? Or I think he asked, like, does anybody have any questions for Jeff and stuff? And it was interesting because there was a gentleman, and he goes, what's next? And he kind of stumped me. And I was like, what do you mean what's next? And he goes, yeah, so like, what's next? And I go, this is weird because we're so preoccupied with wanting to know what you want. And you're sitting there going, what are you going to give me? And so it's this weird tug of war with the marketplace and staying true to authenticity and being genuine. And it takes me back to like, Steve Jobs, I think, said it's like people don't know what they want until you give it to them.
Exactly.
And I think you're running the risk of sounding a little bit like pompous, but it really is that. Like, we're the experts, we're the pros, and you are the aficionados. And at some point, the market will react to what we put it into it, and then you adjust. But it all starts with the creators. Yep. The creators need to be the innovative front. They need to give the masses what they like, because they know best, right? In a lot of cases. And then if the market doesn't like it, they'll let you know. And that's a beautiful interaction. It's a beautiful dance with the public,
And also allows you to get better or to think of something outside the box when you do those particular things, instead of just thinking of it like, I've given you this product, you're going to like it today.
Right. Right now.
Because
this is all you're getting. And so to have that feedback, it's like, oh, well, maybe we messed up on that particular one. Let's go back to try to perfect this one, and let's put that one on the back burner until we can figure out where it needs to be tweaked so that people can like it.
It's very humbling.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What do you personally think is the most important thing for adults to keep in mind when they consume alcohol?
Well, from personal experience, I think you just got to keep in mind that it's never comfortable to lose your ambitions. It's never a nice feeling to have the regret stage of the next morning. Overconsumption typically is going to do that. And even if
the walk of shame,
the walk of shame, the where the fuck are my keys?
Yeah.
Right? All of that anxiety, man. It gets old quick.
The hangover that lasts 3 days.
The hangover. I mean, if you really think about it, that's not a really good pitch for booze, but
you forget things, you feel shitty for 3 days. Some great products.
There's some great products out there.
Yeah, drink it, buy it all the time.
Yeah.
But I think that the most important thing, short of the obvious ones, like don't do stupid things like drive and do all that stuff, but on a kind of like on a deeper level, personally, just thinking about your short amount of time here.
Oh yeah.
You want to have less and less and less regret as you get wiser, right? That's not the same as failing. You want to fail a lot, but you don't want to have a lot of regret, you know? And I think that personally, like it's driven me to have plenty of those feelings or mornings and stuff like that. And the one thing that I try, especially now with kids, and like, I'm a representative of my family and my company. I just don't want to overdo it because you can't control it. You can have you can have a plan, and then you get punched in the liver, and then
literally.
And then you go, oh, well, that sucked. That's not the way I wanted that to go. That's not the way the meeting should have gone, or blah, blah, blah. And so I think that the most important, and at least personal, in this stage in my life where I'm trying to, cement a career and be a role model for not just my kids, but, for other aspiring, fathers and whatever, just don't act a fool too much, like, get silly, but as soon as you start doing things that you regret too often, you gotta tone it back. And I've never been a proponent of quitting. Obviously, it pays my bills, but moderation has always been great.
Oh yeah.
But there is definitely circumstances where I think people just need to take a hard look at how far they let themselves go and how often, and just be mindful of that. Like, think about it. Just think about it.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. Just think about what you're projecting out there.
I love that you bring that point up about like drinking in terms of like in front of who you're presenting yourself as in front of like coworkers or whatever. And I've always kept that in mind. Like anytime I've been like it's a different standpoint when you're working in alcohol. It's like, you're drinking it or whatever. It still can be in moderation, but I know for myself, when it comes to like what I do, I don't drink with my coworkers at all.
Strategically, you just know that party's gonna happen.
No. See, and I think it's because there's a line of being with your coworkers, and then there's a line of being outside of it.
Right.
Right. So, like, if I invite you to my house, then that means I have this trust in you to be here. So if we're drinking and we're here or whatever, you know, it's whatever. But at the company Christmas party, I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
And I mean, my boss is there, you know, their boss and boss is there, you know, it's like all of these different layers that are in the room or whatever. So I've never been the type that was like, oh, I'm going to drink at these particular events.
Smart.
Because I want you to have that balance and that distance. Because to me, this is still work. Even though we're here to have fun, this is still work to me. So for me, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna have some water. Put a lime in mine, make people think I'm drinking.
Yeah,
we're not
make your shirt sparkling.
Right. Exactly. And so, you know, and I think that's where that healthy balance of it kind of comes in, because if I'm in this space and now I have to drink to let everybody know, okay, yeah, I like it. Of course. I'm now gonna be sipping. You're gonna see me with the same one all night long.
That's it.
Yeah, because it's going to be like that moderation point of it. So yeah, that's great that you.
It's good to draw that line.
It is.
And recognize that, like, it's weird because even if you didn't do anything stupid, if you don't remember it, you don't know, and that's another level of anxiety.
Oh,
you know?
Exactly.
And so it's what, you know, we all overconsumed at some point, and I definitely have done my fair share of it, and it's just kind of that's where I'm at now, and I'm sure it'll evolve, and I'm getting a little bit more into like the health component, you know?
Oh yeah.
So I'm just kind of like, you know, there's so much more time to do a lot of these, this research on the adverse effects. By the way, I'm not saying that there's not positive effects of it. I reap the benefits of positive effects all the time, but I make sure that I'm tailoring my relationship with it to produce positivity as opposed to let inhibitions go, and then it gets too slippery.
Yeah,
gotta be careful.
You just gave me a great idea for another episode we can do in terms of like the positivity side of alcohol, because we already did like a myth buster.
Honestly,
it's
so, I think, and this is a hot take, but I think that there's not enough talked about having a really healthy relationship with the drink.
It's not.
And some of the great things that can actually happen. I've experienced great things catching a buzz with my friends, you know, like, and I've had great conversations, introspective conversations. I'm having it right now. And it's, you know, like, that's, you can't throw that out. You can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, you know, like,
Exactly.
you got to recognize that
Not
too.
the baby with the bathwater.
Did I even use that right? Correct.
You did.
I think so.
But it's still hilarious just to visualize.
I'm a
visual person.
Is that right?
I'm a visual person. So when you said it, I just seen the baby just flying out with the bathwater.
Flying out
Don't
the window.
throw babies.
Flying out the window.
Don't throw babies away.
babies.
Don't throw babies away.
But yeah, that is such a great point. I love that you kind of brung that up, because it is. I think that we don't talk about enough of the healthy way and the fun times that do center around alcohol.
Right.
This is the reason why it's still here.
Culturally. Culturally. Even the most rigid and strict cultures that, for the most part, demonize it, still have room for it.
I mean, Catholics. Think about that.
Drink all the time.
They still do the wine during church service. You know what I mean?
They're not even eating that much. You give them a little cracker to soak up all that 14% wine.
I know.
Jeez. They get loose because they get
quality.
loose from that.
Right. And I ain't in for the quality, I ain't in for the representation
Yeah.
of the blood, right?
Oh, you get loose, you know, with your wild a little bit?
Right.
The hat's coming around.
Speaking of culture, what, like, in your own culture, how has alcohol like played a part?
In my culture, as far as like my Mexican heritage?
Yeah.
Well, we're heavy drinkers. We've always been known to it's weird, right? But like, it's hard not to say it without sounding like it's a bad thing. But tequila, you know, and beer has always been a very, very big part of the Mexican culture. I mean, in the United States, Mexican beer is king, you know?
Yeah, it is.
So No offense, Budweiser. Like we're the kings.
Right.
Just because you put it on your can full.
Right.
But I think the Mexican lager, the Mexican beer craze has been a telling of how much a part of it is in the Mexican culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, again, we go back to the same thing. It's like it could derail you.
Yeah.
And it could definitely crash a party, but it definitely makes a party.
Yeah.
Right? And, shout out to Three Punks and Steve-O and Kevin, what they're doing. They've embraced that. They've embraced that kind of, this is family party, beer, and it's a beautiful thing. If you look at it from a particular vantage point, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The timidness goes away for a lot of people, and that social lubricant thing is great, especially if you're trying to get to know somebody and you know that they have a story to tell. And you just can't get it out of them unless they have exactly right. And then some people just don't really feel comfortable telling it, but their story needs to come out, or their ideas and their opinions need to come out. And for a lot of people, the only way to do it at the dinner table or in social settings is to get a little bit of booze in them, and it's great. It's awesome because you're it's kind of like a cheat code. You're unlocking something that they can't unlock themselves, but you're using this beautiful way of manipulating nature, right? Because that's all it is. It's not like synthetic,
right?
It's not like it's not in a vial. We're using legit organic stuff. I mean, organic, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's still just 4 ingredients, and we're playing alchemist, turning this water into gold, and it's unlocking certain things about certain people that some are great. And I think the Mexican culture has been able to really promote that. I mean, we party. Why not? We party. We celebrate. Dia de los Muertos. Even bringing a 30 rack to a funeral. It's kind of like, hey, look, this is short.
Right.
Have a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Do you find that also, like, with podcasting, in terms of just podcasting and drinking? Because I know that's what we find that to be easier too, in terms of lowering that inhibition. Not trying to say that we're trying to get everybody drunk on here, but
kind of are.
It's
okay. There's a martini glass on your on your logo.
But it does allow us to kind of, it just brings it to a more loose feel. You know what I mean? Than like a normal talk show where it's like everybody's stiff. Everybody's like just talking, and they're like answering the questions. They're searching for it in their minds and all this. And then if I give you a little bit of alcohol and I ask you a question, then it's just going to be like, you know what? Let me just talk from where my heart is right now.
Isn't that beautiful? I think that's beautiful. A lot of people would say that that's unfortunate, that you need it, but it's not that you need it. It's just that it's nice. It's nice that you know that can unlock that particular part of you.
Exactly.
And if that's and if you use it right, it could aid you in your life, in your career.
Yep.
Like you could definitely, maybe you need a little bit of this before a pitch, a big pitch. Maybe the nerves are too much for you to bear sober. And I'm not saying to do drunken pitches. I'm just saying sometimes you just need to get a little loose up there, and it's great. And if that's how you can make it work for you, then good. I think what you're talking about and what your show, and I've listened to some of the conversations that you two have had about this, and I'm glad you're having these conversations. It's about like, what are the bad things? What are the good things? Can you use this as a tool? Like so many people think that this is just a libation that you just go kick around, find your beach. But for a lot, but if you dig deeper, it can make food better. It can make your relationships more, at least colorful. We'll say, whatever. It depends on how you want to, if it's good or bad. But
make
what I'm saying,
spade game so fun.
Yeah, you want to. You think when Scrabble's boring?
Smack all in there. Right?
Crack open a handle of tequila and then play some Scrabble. Right. You're gonna lose track of what words actually mean or how to spell, but it's gonna be fun.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm a big proponent for looking at it pint half full kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna go back to like a little bit about like working in the alcohol industry and how challenging or like difficult it can be as far as like that teetering on that line, because like employers like of breweries or wineries, like they want their their employees to know their product and like be able to taste it, talk about it, have relationships, like friendships, or like with their colleagues, like all of that kind of stuff. And so it can be a challenge, like working in the alcohol industry, where you don't necessarily, like, if you're not drinking the product that you're making or being able to talk about it, like, you're not going to be very good over the bar.
That's a very good point.
And so, but you have to be able to also have that like ability to be like, this is still my job and this is still my work, and I'm still representing, like, and I've seen that at like festivals, and I think that's where I see it more, as far as like that challenge of like employees at festivals, where it's like everyone's having a good time, like trying each other's beers and all this stuff, and then it's like, oh, like, where does the line draw between like having fun versus like working the event?
That's
can
very
be
good
very,
point.
very,
It's
very
tricky.
blurry.
It's tricky. It's a fine line to walk, at least straight. And I think that the only answer to it is to, again, we go back to identifying what your relationship with the booze is.
Yeah.
And making sure that, look, listen, I can crack open a beer right now, or I can have a few tasters and I'll be fine.
Right.
And we all know what that is.
Yeah.
We all know really when it's starting to become not fine.
Right.
Exactly.
And then, but you're already on you're already on a roll. The industry is very tricky because you have there's always old school guys that got to figure it out. They can handle it. There's new people in the industry that are really excited that maybe they can't. And then there's in between.
Or they are trying to figure it out.
And they're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it takes time, like, to figure out what your relationship, like you were just saying, like reevaluating your relationship constantly is like really healthy, because every year, every moment, your life is different. And so your relationship with people or things or, beverages can constantly change. And so it's not a one time I evaluated my relationship with alcohol thing. It's like that constant check-in keeps that relationship healthy.
100%.
Because each alcohol like does a different thing to you.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah, like you could drink a whole bottle of wine and some people can be fine. I know for myself, I could be fine. I could drink a whole bottle and I'd be like, all right, we good.
Go you.
Yeah. But if I have I know that with like tequila, for instance, because that's one of my favorites, in gin, I know that it's very limited.
Yeah.
I know I can feel that stopping point. I can be like, yep, we're done. We're finished.
Yeah.
When some people, I'm always, curious about like how people don't know when that stopping point is, or when they don't. And I think it's because of the way that their liver probably processes it too at the same time. It's like eating food, right? You don't know you're full until you slow down. So if you keep eating and shoveling it in there, then that's when you get like the sick feeling and you're like, oh God, oh wow.
Whoops.
Right.
Yeah, but if you slow down.
There's a lag phase.
If you slow
there's
down
a
and
period of
eat
time.
it.
There's a lag phase where, you're not going to feel it. And when you feel it, you're probably, you're too done. You're gone.
Yeah.
But it's also like how, like anything else, it's understanding yourself. It's understanding how you are going to react to X, Y, and Z, and then the proper, preparation for it. Like if you're going to have dinner with your family and you're going to have a beer or two, that's different than if you're going to prepare yourself to go to a beer festival and you go like, all right, well, I'm going to go. And we do it all the time with other things, right? Like we do it with making sure that we Uber there instead of drive. It's like, you know how to plan, you know where you're going. Like no one Ubered to the festival and then is super surprised that they got drunk. And they're like, what happened? It's like, bro, you Ubered here.
I only had 17 samples.
It's like at a beer festival.
Yeah.
And you didn't have breakfast. You know what's going to happen. So with that in mind, it's just kind of where you want to go and knowing yourself when you get to those limits. And like you said, it's a constant check in with yourself. Say, maybe I shouldn't maybe I'm going through this or I'm going through that. I'm on medication. I don't know what it is, but you go like, maybe I shouldn't go that hard. Maybe I shouldn't drink at all. Blah, 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 blah. Doesn't mean you can't be there, but I would say that it's difficult to master yourself to the point where you can control that to that level, where you have an amount that you're going to drink that you're not going to go beyond, or you're the DD and you have to just sit, but it's just strange. You know what I mean? It's strange to be able to.
It's really a strength to it. I mean, I commend my husband because he doesn't drink. So for him,
he doesn't drink. Look at you. You always have a driver.
Always. It's the perfect whole thing. I'd be like, yo, he'll pick us up. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And so, because I know he used to drink and he knew that alcohol wasn't his thing.
Right.
So for him to kind of come to that conclusion on his own, to be like, you know what, this turns me into something I don't like, and then to go, yo, I'm done. I'm not doing it, and still be in the spaces where alcohol is, and still can be like, I'm not doing this.
That's tough.
That's a real strength.
I can't say I have even mastered that, but like I'm paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And if
the
you pay
only way I
to
can
it,
do that is if I'm sick.
That's maybe. That's for
and then
me,
I'm
it's
asking,
a maybe.
And then I'm asking for like a hot toddy.
I was gonna say, yeah.
That's exactly. Oh my God.
And then I'm asking for a hot toddy at that point. So it's, I really commend people like him and him for being, for being able to be in those particular spaces and go.
What's more impressive is that he figured it out.
Yeah.
Not that he took a stance or a hard line, but he just kind of had a conversation with himself and said, hey, listen, this is not what I want to do for X, Y, and Z. And I think that might be the most important part.
Yeah.
I've always been teeter-tottering on between self-mastery and like sobriety-oriented stuff and more of like a Bourdainian, hey, it's one life to live.
Right.
Let's rock and roll.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's a good thing to have. You want to always be in this beautiful medium between those two, right? Because there's something beautiful about adopting, let's say, the Anthony Bourdain, if you go to extremes, the Hunter S. Thompson kind of lifestyle. And then there's also something beautiful about like what your husband's doing. It's like, hey, no, I'm self-mastery. Like this is, I don't do that. And it's like, they're both great.
Yeah.
I mean, they both have something to offer, I mean.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, last question before we get into your drinking story.
Oh. Might need all of that stuff I said about moderation. Let's go ahead and toss that out the window.
Yeah. So I kind of want to know, like, how does Ballast Point differentiate themselves from like other craft beer brands in terms of its approach to community and culture?
Good question.
And what sets that brand apart?
Well, for me, I'm obviously going to give you an answer that's biased, right? Like it's the unfortunate.
I mean, that's why we said Ballast Point.
Yeah. Right. I try in these particular circumstances, especially because I've been in the industry for 10 and a half years now with Ballast, always with Ballast. I didn't work for another brewery prior, but I just been with Ballast Point, and I've been able to befriend a lot of other people in the industry that I respect and I look up to, and I emulate a lot of what they're doing and try to bring it into what we want to do.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like, what are we doing that's different? I mean, I think we're upholding a degree of, like, to be one of the forefathers of the brewing industry.
Yeah.
And I don't mean four. Who knows how many they are?
Yeah.
But like we were there, right? We were there in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think that's like a tall order to maintain that integrity, to be able to still promote quality in who you are, quality in your product, and your standards of practices. I think it's really hard to do it for that long, because the industry has evolved so much that we've been playing catch up with it, and especially a brand like Ballast Point. I will say this, again, you probably can already tell, I try to look at the pint half full, right? And through all that Ballast Point has been through, I think we're a better brewery for it. I think we've been able to learn a lot, even from Constellation Brands. We were able to learn what they're doing something right.
Yeah.
Not everything right, but they're doing something right. And I think that we were able to kind of like poke and prod and pick out the pieces that I think would work and for us and help us. and then leave everything else behind and just know that we had exposure to it and that we know how to identify the gas in the kitchen, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so I think to answer your question, I think what we've been able to do really well, it actually really doesn't have to do with our standards of practice or our product, because I don't think we haven't fucked with that. We're like, we make good beer. That's what we do.
Yeah.
It might not be the beer that you like. It might not be the style that you like, blah, 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 but we make good beer. And all of our contemporaries do too. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what we've been able to do, though, with a peppered history that we have, we've been able to still kind of like hold our heads up high and say, hey, look, listen, I know this and I know that, and we understand this, and I get you, but we're still
in the room.
We're only doing what we think is best.
Yeah.
You know? And I know that sounds like a cop-out answer because everybody does, but I will tell you, not everybody does. You know, people think that everybody has those business practices and that's their business mantra. There's a lot of fluff out there. And the more that you're in this industry, not just in San Diego, but everywhere, the more that you rub elbows with people that you're, oh man, like, I know what you're saying, but that's not what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I can't say that we've always been accurate, but we've always been pushing towards that.
Yeah. That's like your true north.
That's our true north.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We used to, or we have a mantra or model or whatever you want to call it, but like, we brew what we like to drink. And it sounds so simplistic, but in a land of people trying to brew hype beers because they think that they're going to sell. And I'm not saying that we're not guilty of that. I'm just saying that you need to have an overwhelming amount of security with who you are. To be able to be authentic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to project to the public, but more so to your neighbors, your contemporaries, that, hey, look, we're still this. And we've been able to prove it. We've had a lot of people come back around and say, hey guys, you know, we didn't give you, we were quick to judge you, or we didn't read the story completely, or we didn't talk to anybody. We just made an assessment. We made a judgment based on who you were affiliated with. And I think that's smart. I think you should do that. I think you should be skeptical. But you give people or companies the opportunity to kind of prove themselves.
Yeah, and to tell, like,
and
going back to what you said earlier about like just telling your story.
Telling the story.
I mean, that's what I love about this platform, is that we give people those opportunities to kind of just put a face to their names, what people are experiencing there, what type of brand it is, and then just kind of go on.
Yeah, and our new owners have been able to do that. They're wild, and they're good, and they're great, and they have that kind of thing that we started off as, which is this mitigated risk. You know, we have to be smart, but there's also a lot of rolling of the dice, because that's the only way that you're going to be anything in this industry, is that if you're taking risks.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Does that even answer anything?
That did. Yeah. That was great. One more question though before I go to the drinking story, because I love this question. What do you think is the most overrated alcohol?
Fuck. Overrated? I mean, I can tell you what I hate. I hate Malort. Malort sucks. Sorry, Chicago. I got tricked into Malort. I got tricked into
it.
I got tricked into Chicago Handshake, and that's when they give you like a thing of Old English or Old Style. Or I forgot what the beer's name is, and then they give you the Malort. It's almost like a rite of passage, I guess, in a weird way. But I thought so, and then everybody started laughing after I took it, and so I was like, "Oh, this is a joke."
That idiot.
So yeah, I felt dumb, but then I also like. I woke up the next morning with like a lot of hair on my chest. And so I was like, all right. Overrated. That's a tough one, man, because so obviously I think we all know that I get asked all the time, like about kombuchas or non-alcoholic beers and stuff like that. I love all of them. Like I dig them all.
Yeah.
Overrated is probably seltzers done in big corporate fashion.
I think so. Ooh, that's a good one.
Like the metallic-y
there's a
artificially
place for
flavored
seltzers done right.
seltzers.
I've had great seltzers.
Yeah, there are
I never
some
really
good
thought
ones.
about it
Yeah,
like that,
that's a
but
good
when you
one.
said it, I was like, I the same. I feel the same. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's once you see kind of like how the sausage is made in that realm,
Yeah.
I think you start like, I could probably do something else.
Yeah.
But I've been to plenty of like smaller breweries that are making seltzers because they sell, but they're doing it in a fashion that I can agree with, and they're good.
Yeah.
So it's not a no seltzer; it's a know how you make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that goes for everything. But I think that is my answer. It's like get off the seltzer craze when it comes to that way of manufacturing it.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand the no laws when there's White Claws and they're fun and it's fun. It's fun. They're
I'm like, I don't think I've ever heard that, but
that's a good
okay.
yeah. I didn't make that up. So I did not make that up.
That was yours.
No, that's not mine. I do not want to be associated with.
It's your tagline.
With my okay.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm not.
Just kidding.
Anything that starts with "there's no laws when," I'm kind of already in. I like that kind of stuff.
Right.
But like I said, it's a weird question for me because I don't really hate on too much. Even the White Claws. I'm just kidding. I'm being facetious, but like, there's a place for them. Why not? Like, have some fun.
I think that could be put into any type of like alcohol that's over commercialized. I think that it gets overhyped for like no reason. And then when you start looking at like the local things or people who have like a more smaller type of business around it, and that's when I'm like, this is it.
Well, I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier is the story. Like there is no story behind White Claw that people are connected to, or some of these like larger brands or hyped alcohol brands. Like
that's a good point.
There isn't that story, there isn't that connection. And then you go into find that in your community or regionally or something, and you're like, oh, now I have a connection and now I have a story. And that tastes better. Yeah. Because of that.
Yep.
And also because it's probably a superior product.
Yep.
But like there isn't a connection to those larger alcohol brands in that way because there's no true story. There's no like authenticity or genuine story behind the brand.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not part of the way that they market them anyways.
Exactly.
Right.
They're not trying. They're not
Exactly.
trying to create a story and a connection, except Budweiser with the horses.
Yeah. It's a different
Clydesdale.
world. Yeah. The Clydesdale.
The Clydesdales and the Dalmatian or whatever. Like that's a little that kind of works.
But I think though that like, and this is kind of my stance on any alcohol, really, anything, really. I don't knock anything if somebody's very excited to share it with me.
Oh yeah.
I'm not that guy.
Shit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Look, hey, if Johnny Knoxville is gonna take me to a bar so that he could tell me a few stories, and he orders me a Budweiser or something like that,
drink that.
I'm not gonna be like, hey, thanks, man, real quick before you start your story, can I get and then go. Like, if I go to a backyard barbecue and I open up the cooler and there's just beer that I hate, I will have a beer, and if especially if it's something that means something to the host. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll have it, man, and I won't knock it. I won't knock it. I won't make fun of you. People think that. People think that I'm going to judge people based on what they drink. And I do. But
not to their face.
It's not like, not to their face.
I sometimes do.
No. And I mean, I just think
if I know you well enough, I will.
Yeah. I'll give you shit. I'll give you shit. But like, I like hanging out, having great conversations more than I like, beating somebody down about their preference and things of
that makes
beer.
Sense.
You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Right.
To me, it's weird.
Better
That makes
things to
sense.
do.
All right, so we're at my other favorite part.
Drinking story.
Yeah. Drinking story. So you can tell us any story that involves drinking. It could be a fun night. It could be something that was inspiring. It could be how you was brought together by something or whatever.
I know exactly what story.
Okay.
Because it's it's not like rambunctious and The Hangover or anything. Like it's a little bit more serious, but it means a lot to me. And
we love these too.
that's kind of what what I'm about. So people ask me all the time what my favorite beer in the world is, right? They always go, oh, okay, so what's your favorite beer? You know, you're brewing, you're craft beer, whatever. And I always say it's Negra Modelo. Negra Modelo is my favorite beer. It's my Lonely Island beer. It's my death row beer. It is the beer that if I can choose it, that will be my last beer, right? Like that's the last thing that I want to go out on. And everyone's perplexed. They're like, what? I mean, it's good, but what? So I mentioned to you that my dad's from Guadalajara, right? And he took me on my first trip out there to go see where he's from, right? And one of the things about my dad is that he was born in Zacatecas, Mexico, no shoes on his feet, kind of like the great American story, right? He was able to start a company.
So I know you heard a lot of that when you were younger.
Oh, they don't let you forget it.
Right.
They do not let you forget it. Look, even he's gone and he still has me communicating. It's like, yeah, I did. Telling that story.
Right.
And so we go to Guadalajara, and my dad is actually, he used to work in a town that's on the outskirts of Guadalajara, a little town called Jalos. I mean, it's like a little Coco-esque kind of town, right? And so we're having one of the best trips ever, and this is the first time that my dad's able to pinpoint and show me around, and this is where I used to work, and that's where I used to eat and stuff like that. So we go to this small town, and then in this little town, there's like a plaza, and I'm not kidding you, it's like super tiny but super beautiful. And then as we're walking around in the plaza, there's a pool hall. It's a pool hall. He goes, hey, let's go in there and hang out for a little bit. So, oh, okay, cool. So we're going to the pool hall, and this place is awesome. It's like old. There's no one under the age of like 150. It's like they're all smoking cigarettes, playing pool. Right. I'm me, so there's like a scratch of the thing.
Everyone
like,
turning and looking.
What the hell's this guy?
Right.
And you know,
this youngin'.
It's my favorite kind of spot. It looks grimy. There's hardworking people in there that are in there just to have a smoke, a game of pool, and a beer, right? And so we go to the bar, and my dad sits me down, and the bar stools are stuck to the floor, right? They're not the ones that you can just move around. Yeah. So I sit down, and he sits down, and then he goes, all right, hey, I'm gonna go to the restroom really quick, order a couple of beers. And I'm like, all right, cool. So he goes to the restroom. They don't really have much, but they have Negra Modelo on tap. And so I'm like, oh, you know, it's on tap. And I wasn't thinking too much of it. I like Negra Modelo at this point, but I'm not in love with it. And so I get a couple of Negra Modelos, and my dad comes back and goes, hey, real quick, move a couple of stools over. The bar was empty. So I'm just like, why do I have to move? I was perfectly fine where I'm at right here. And no, just move. And so, all right, cool. So I grab my beer, I grab his beer, and I move a couple of stools down, and I'm sitting on the thing. And he goes, I just want you to know something. And I go, like, what? You're sitting on the exact seat in the exact bar stool that I was sitting in when I really decided to go to the United States, when I made the decision to go to the United States. And in that moment, it doesn't matter what I was drinking, honestly. I was just like, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was just like, this is something insane. Like, you know, this is the place. This is the spot. You know, and it really impacted me really, 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 really hardcore. And I never forgot that. Yeah, I never forgot that. And it was one of the best like experiences of my life. And the beer that I was drinking was Negra Modelo. And I never forgot that. It was just the best thing that I had ever. The lines were probably full of fucking diacetyl or whatever the hell. And who knows? It was probably not the best pouring beer. Right. By the way, if you're listening to this and it's your bar and you take care of your lines, my bad. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't remember that part. Like, someone said, like, oh, we clean the lines all the time. They have a great draft system regimen, routine.
Despite the grime, smoke, and the...
Yeah. But our maintenance on those draft systems are top tier. How dare you, fool? But, so yeah, I took that with me, and I never forgot that. I never forgot that, and Negra Modelo will be my beer, my favorite beer for the rest of my life, probably, because of that. So... That's my, I'm pretty sure I got drunk right after that because we were in Guadalajara, but it was the one that like, that's the final real kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about? And, you know, funny enough, what we were talking about, how we hope our product to impact somebody's life, that Negra Modelo was that for me. they don't know
even
who I
that.
am.
Right.
Who the fuck is this
Right.
guy?
Yeah.
But somewhere there's people that have these stories about your product, and you'll never know
You'll
it.
never
But
know
you just
it.
got to imagine that the hard work that's being put into it is going to go beyond just what you think.
Yeah, a product in a package.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I carried that, by the way, into Ballast Point. I carried that philosophy into it. It took me when I was on the bottling line and we were checking for straight labels and making sure that the cap was on right and stuff like that. Like a lot of these little nuances that most people don't care about. I took that as like, hey, you don't know where this 6-pack's going.
Yeah.
It can go and be a part of somebody's great experience.
Right.
And you don't want your product to interrupt that experience by being shitty.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
yeah, that's
anyways.
good. That was a good one.
That was good. That was really
I
good.
love that one.
Yeah, it means a lot.
And to have something, to remember him by at the same time.
Well, thanks for letting me share that because I always love that story because it makes me remember, but it also kind of I like to remind people that it's beyond beer shit.
It is.
It's beyond beer shit.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so let's get to the part where can people find you?
Well, Ballast Point, I mean, we have a few tasting rooms. The mothership is in Miramar here in San Diego. That's where the main manufacturing facility is. We have Little Italy that is a R&D facility too. So Chris Takeuchi heads the R&D facility down in that neck of the woods. Awesome vibe. It's more of like a downtownish kind of vibe. We have a tasting room in Long Beach, which is probably the most beautiful tasting room that we have.
Ooh.
So beautiful double-decker restaurant, and
it's right on the water.
It's right on the water.
I've seen it.
It is amazing.
I didn't even know that's what it was. And now I remember the name. It just flashed in my head.
Yep.
I know what it said. I know exactly what it said.
The dopest one, not just for Ballast Point. I would say that's one of the dopest spots. It's beautiful. It's right on the water. It's on the dock. So you can be in your boat, post up, anchor, whatever the hell you call it, come up, grab some beers, go back. It's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The food's great. The staff is super knowledgeable and it cranks and it's just beautiful, like on a sunset, stuff like that. So we have that tasting room.
Now I gotta go in there purposely now.
Oh,
I remember walking
let me
past
know
it.
whenever you do. Please let me know. And then we have Downtown Disney. So we are the only, as far as I know, we are the first and thus far the only brewery that's on Disney grounds, at least in California. So there's beer in California Adventure. Like they'll serve you beer and stuff like that. But we were asked by them if we were interested in opening up a tasting room with a little R&D system on Disney grounds. So if you're if you're in downtown Disney, we're right there. You'll see Ballast Point, and it's pretty cool to have something so close to Disney. And then we just we have our Linda Vista location, Homebrew Mart. Shout out to Homebrew Mart. I can't sing their praises enough. Not only is that the original spot, right? That's what started it all. All of our other locations get our R&D beers. So whatever Chris makes at Little Italy, all of our tasting rooms get it. But Homebrew Mart has a very smaller system. They have a 1-barrel system. So the only way to get the Homebrew Mart exclusive beers that Matt and Jason and everybody's brewing down there, it's only there. So if anybody needs an incentive or an excuse to go to Homebrew Mart, just know that you're going to find some really just beers that you can't really get at any of our other locations because there's such a small batch. So we get to be really creative. They're super good because these guys are really good, and you can only get them at Homebrew Mart. And then we just opened up a new tasting room in San Francisco.
Whoa.
So we just opened up that spot a few months ago.
Yeah.
I went up for just to tell the stories and orientation and stuff like that. We have an awesome just crew up there that's really passionate about it. Going into San Francisco was we were very careful about it because it's San Francisco. They have such a great beer scene.
They have a history.
Yeah. But we worked with their guild. We're part of their guild now. Lester and all the guild team were very welcoming to us. They gave us the opportunity to just kind of let us tell our story and what we're about and stuff like that.
That's great.
And it's been a really warm welcoming. But we are in, I don't know what zone that is, but we're near the Dropbox headquarters, near Oracle Stadium, and then we're right near the Warrior Stadium.
Okay.
So you can.
I have no geography?
I just said that. I really don't know either.
Okay.
Yeah, I just like.
I mean, I know because I've been up there a couple of times, but
Yeah. So we're in that little cool hood. It's very hip.
Mm-hmm.
Very I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's San Francisco, but it's a cool spot.
Yeah, it's super gentrified, but
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. It is, and it's nice. It's nice. I get to walk the streets after 11 o'clock.
Oh yeah, it's definitely one of those spots. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Can do that in Oakland, but
Yeah. And then other than that, right. Oakland has some good beers though. And other than that, we have the website and you can follow us on social media. I think Ballast Point has a handle on Instagram for all of our tasting rooms. So it's the Ballast Point, and then there's like the San Diego, then there's the Long Beach, and then there's the Anaheim, and then so on and so forth. So follow any of them that's proximal to you. And then I mean, I have dedicated to the craft. You can find that on YouTube and the podcast. And
plug it on in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll plug first. Yeah, all right. Go check out. Hey, by the way, we just don't have. It's not just beer oriented. We've had some really great guests on, some great conversations that I was able to have with some very inspiring people.
Yeah.
And so I urge you to just not only find out what San Diego beer scene's all about from the beer guests, but also just random personalities and figures that have lent their time out so that I can sit down and chat with them.
Yeah.
And it's cool. We've been having great conversations.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm about.
I can only imagine. I mean, you definitely gave us a great conversation today.
Oh, I love it.
And we super appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you for your time.
You.
Thank you
for your
for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
and
cheers.
Coming to enjoy our
empty,
studio.
so.
You empty? You want a little bit more? There you go.
There you go. Oh, look
There
at
it
you.
is.
Sharon is caring.
Sharon is caring.
Yeah.
All right.
Salud.
Cheers.
Salud.
And that's Odd Pairing. Thanks for listening and watching Odd Pairing. So please subscribe, like, rate,
And comment with your favorite drinking stories and curiosities about adult beverages.
Yes.
Cheers.
I'm going to happy hour. Who's driving?
Walk.